Hello, Capricorn. I'm Jordan, the Green Moon Healing Spirit, and welcome to your October 2025 tarot card reading. A lot of interesting things happening this month for sure. Not as crazy as last month with all of the eclipses, but still, we do have some big things happening. I'll be interested to see exactly what you pull. I'm going to be pulling 10 cards from this traditional Rider-Waite deck. I'm going to be clarifying each of those with 3 of these gilded tarot cards. And I will also pull you a fantasy oracle card at the end as well as a talisman, okay? I'm just going to just kind of shuffle them up for a second. I do hope you're having a good month, and I always wish you the best, Capricorn, naturally. Um, I always find Capricorn has such a sense of detachment sometimes, and that's true right now, of course. At least I think there are big things happening for you, but in your own house, it's kind of quiet. Earth energies are generally kind of quiet right now, so it can be good or bad. Of course, we will see. The cards just kind of say what they want, so I'm unsure as to what they'll say for you. And they don't always connect directly to astrology. A lot of the times they do. I find that the energies just typically align, but let's see what happens. All right, Spirit. What's going on for Capricorn in the month of October 2025? Anything that they need to know, you can share. All right, thank you. All right, Capricorn, let's see what we get. Queen of Swords. King of Wands. All right, there's a couple cards coming. Just going to put down what I see. I have the Four of Pentacles, the Lovers, and we have Four of Swords. And then I'll read this one when we get to the bottom row. I do like to do them 5 at a time. I just find them to be a little bit easier in this way. And the moon down here. So, okay. I do feel... I don't know whether there is controversy. I do always see when the court cards are facing directly at each other, it can be a little bit almost adversarial or just butting heads sometimes. I'm not really sure yet. Of course, I'll clarify all these cards, but I do see to start the month, you may be in a column as you see them kind of modality, and this could be anywhere. Of course, with your family, it could be at work, it could be in your social group, it could be just about anywhere. But I do see the Queen of Swords as always having to do with the truth. She speaks her mind. If she believes that something needs to be said, she says it. She could say it only in your head, or she could also be you saying things to others. I do see King of Wands here going on with that. So, like I said, I'll clarify these cards, but then down the road, I do see the Lovers card. So I am seeing a little bit of an impasse here. It's just how I visualize what's going on. And I'll explain that. So the Lovers card is all about contracts. It's all about communications, decisions. And I do see this Lovers card coming up next to this Four of Pentacles, but The reason I do see this as a little bit of maybe disconnectedness between maybe two facets of your life, or another person could very well be, or people. You do have a few things going on in the astrology. So, the Queen of Swords is all about honesty and a little bit of brutality if she thought that she needed to exhibit that. And she's looking right at the King of Wands, who can be a little bit explosive, who can be, of course, very passionate. There's no real enemy figure that I see here. I do see that there might be a conversation, there could be an admission, or some kind of deep discussion. And something needs to be said about that. The king is a very passionate energy. This king, he can be explosive, but at the same time, he does it because he has a lot to offer in terms of that. He has a perspective that he must give. He wants to give all of himself wherever he is, and he wants to get what he wants. This king is incredibly strong because of his just ability to explode at times. And he can get what he wants that way. It's interesting to see what against the Queen of Swords. It's really impossible to tell whether one of you is right or one of you is wrong, or whether these are both facets of you at this moment. That could be, another way to read this would be, a lot of truth leading to a lot of passion into a situation. I do see, though, a disconnect. That's just what I feel. I don't know why. I think it has to do with this Lover's card. But the queen looking right at the king, I feel like there might be some truth coming in your life at the beginning of October. I do know for you that early on in October, Mercury is moving into Scorpio, which is your 11th house space. And of course, the whole time the sun is in Libra. So now we're talking about the sun illuminating on how you're going to harmonize that very public space of yours. And some of you, this has to do with career. It has to do with a lot of things that have to do with how you make money. It has a lot to do with that. There's a lot going on. Of course, Libra is complicated. It has a way of bringing things to that mirror effect, like the reality of things and a sense of accountability to weigh them out, to make things harmonized and balanced. Libra can be an incredibly challenging archetype because it looks so different on one side of the surface, and on the flip side of the mirror, things are much more complicated at times. I do see the Queen of Swords may feel the need for you. Swords are all about communication. When Mercury comes into Scorpio in that 11th house with the Sun in Libra in the 10th house, the way that you're connecting to your community and the way that you're defining yourself publicly, they may come head to head for whatever reason. There may be some interplay between the community and your workspace and things of that nature. After the King of Wands energy comes the Four of Pentacles, which has to do with a sense of stuckness and sense of stasis, tight budget issues, all kinds of things with that. But sometimes it does just speak to reclaiming control. I do see that there is a little bit of that for you with this. I don't know whether it's a power struggle between these two cards. I just see that there is whatever's happening here is happening, and then there's like a review of where you stand with the budget. And we also need to talk about the full moon in Aries, which for you is in your fourth house. That is a very personal house. That has to do with the root system that you have, how you define your security. There's just a lot happening in that space. And I do see that there might be a need after whatever happens with this situation up here, which we will define with the clarifiers. And maybe even down below, I tend to get more answers in that direction as well. There might be a need to there might be a need to hold on tight. There might be a review, and the full moon in the fourth house asks us to define the things in our personal lives and what we need to address there, things that might need to be transformed or changed, and all of the ways that are being highlighted there, the things that have been full and need to be done. I do see that there is a sense of clutching onto control after whatever happens here. Somebody may be saying something to you that tips you off in a certain way that makes you feel like something was wrong with the money or the contracts, because I do see directly after that I have the Lover's card, which, yes, it could have to do with personal relationships, but I moreover get a sense of having to do with the choices and communication. Sometimes it does speak to contracts. So Mercury going in with Mars in Scorpio in the 11th house, it does have to do with deep conversations within the community, with the way that you relate, with the way that you communicate. Things could get deep and almost very intimate for you, Capricorn. And in the 11th house, it has to do with how you're going to redefine yourself in this full moon moment. It has to do with how you're going to define yourself in the future, how you're going to be communicating with these people in this place, and how you're going to make that connect to your dream and where you are heading, the aspirations that you have, and forming this community. There may be a sense for you to redefine your role in the community. There may be some issue with money as well, at least just being highlighted for you in a sense that you might feel just a pull to hold on tight. And what that means now, I'm unsure, but we will continue to read. But I do see the Lover's card can relate to contracts, can relate, but usually it comes up with the Justice card in that way, and I don't see that here, at least not yet. So the Lover's card, moreover, has to do with communication, with choices, the way that you're defining those intimate partnerships. And I do see for you that the full moon might be shaking some things up there, okay? And on the 6th, when Mercury goes into Scorpio, things are going to get kind of deep and vulnerable and a little bit intimate, okay? We're going to be having discussions in the community. You might have to deal with how you're going to put boundaries between your community life, your work life, your home life, and all of that sort of energy. It can be difficult, of course. Libra tends to want all of the parts to be working in unison, and that's not always simple. Okay, it's very challenging at times. You need to know which strings to pluck at which times if all of the chords are going to hit the right way. I do see after this moment, though, coming on about the middle of the month, we have the Four of Swords, which this is all about reflection, pensivity. I do see whatever's happening, like I said, when the Mercury and Mars go in Scorpio with that 11th house space, that can be very deep. It can be very reflective, especially the Sun in Libra. That is a very mirror-like energy. It's all about the other people, the concern in that 10th house about your public image, how people will think, all of those sorts of things, especially with this Lover's card. I do see that the people and communications are deeply on your mind. Another thing needs to be said as well. On the 13th, Venus will be coming into Libra with the Sun, which can be such a beautiful energy. It will be attractive, and Venus is the ruler of Libra, so it's going to feel effortless in that way. But Venus in Libra is going to be trining Pluto in Aquarius, which for you is your second house. And that is where we need to talk about the definition with the money and the contracts and the public image, all those things. There's this interplay between the 10th house, which is that work and public house, versus your second house, which is how you define yourself through um, stability, and finance, which could have a little bit to do with this Four of Pentacles. Pluto in Aquarius has to do with the things you might find there in that space where there needs to be change, where there might have been some need for transformation, trining Venus in Libra, where you might be having to kind of mow the lawn, as it were, of all the weeds that might have come up in the decision making process that you might have made. Of course, you always have the grandest of ideals, Capricorn. You do deeply want to expand in that way almost at all times, but there's a lot going on in that place, and I do see that that has to do, Venus sort of in Libra is attracting the people, attracting the agreements and the money as well. So Venus can also bring wealth. So this has to do with this, the second house and the 10th house, money and the career. There's a lot going on there. There might be something with the contracts, with the way that you have been allowed to communicate in that way. There might have been some, you may be thinking very deeply about how you're going to communicate on this sense and how you're going to, of course, it is pensive, and Capricorn has a very innate ability to explore deeply. You are calculating, of course, Capricorn, all the time. But I do get a sense here. Well, let's finish pulling here. That's where we are at the top. I'm going to just pull more cards. So we got the moon in the bottom. I'm going to pull more cards. Spirit, what else for Capricorn for October? Six of Wands. The Devil. That's your card, Capricorn, right here. We'll talk about that. I think there's a big event happening there. Ten of Cups. Ace of Wands. Wonderful. And now I'm going to try and pull you a guiding card for the month. Spirit, is there a guiding card for Capricorn? Queen of Wands. Beautiful, Capricorn. Beautiful. Okay. So, like I said, I do believe there is this almost strategic position for you. There might be a communication coming from someone else, I kind of see, or at least dawning in your own head. But we'll talk about everything at the end. I do see the Four of Swords as being a very inflective depth for you. I think you have a lot on your mind. There's a lot to balance here, and sometimes it's okay to take a break. That's a very normal thing when you have energies like this swirling around. Of course, Capricorn, all this calculation does get to be exhausting. There might be a need. I think that you're having this need to kind of relax and just sit with this sort of decisive process, or at least the revelation of what's been going on to you, the occurrence, the light dawning on you in this place. I do see that it might feel a little bit confusing. I think this is why you feel the need to have this sort of inflection, because things might seem a little bit wishy-washy, and there might be distractions. There might be, again, energies that might be just not directly working against you. They're working for themselves, but they would work for themselves before you. And in the moon, I always see, if there is a good intuition, this crab would be able to get to wherever it's going. But there are a lot of things in the way. There's a lot of cloudy energy, a lot of blindness. There's a lot of other sort of energies here, which can be a little bit erratic and difficult to control, that are really in control of themselves. It's external from yourself, Capricorn. And I do see that you may have to put up with some intuitive navigation if you're going to get to this place. And that's something that Capricorn, you like a calculated response, Capricorn. You don't always like to rely on what you don't know. You're kind of risk averse in that way. You don't like to take a risk unless you see it as being either necessary or lucrative for you. I do see that this Four of Swords, I think, is a compensatory mechanism for you to try and weed through all of this confusing energy that's going around in your world. And again, I do think it has to do with that full moon in Aries and coming up right after the new moon in Libra, which has to do with how you're going to put the seeds in the right place to come up the right way later in that 10th house. I do think there is a sense of kind of standing your ground and renegotiating maybe about where you want to go, what you want to do, and how that's going to be defined in a very real way. I do see you can easily be confused in this energy, and it wouldn't be your fault. There would be, of course, that's when adversarial energies would be in play. It may be also that up here, when I said there's two forces butting heads, it could also be seen that there is somebody in your life in the circle that's going to tell you something that reveals a truth that was unbeknownst to you at the time. And it might be filling you with a little bit of a deep drive and passion to do something about it. That could also be. I do see now more that this might not be adversarial. It might be more just communication. It might be coming from somebody close in that community. It might be coming from somebody around you. With the sun in Libra, it does have a way to kind of balance out all the things that were in that place in that 10th house that were kind of out of balance. There's just a natural way of things balancing out. Okay. And all of the mechanisms involved in that are very complicated, of course, could be coming externally. But I do see there is a sense of, I feel it in this place, you're determined, to say the very least. You're very determined to get what you want, to advocate for yourself, to stand your ground. And I see that the Six of Wands has a very good mentality in where they would like to be. There's a sense of pride. There's a sense of determination. There's a sense of, there's just a winning attitude in this card. It always, of course, moves forward toward the victory, toward its next victory. There was a victory in the past, and even though it might have been confusing, there might be something going on that's instilling you with a sense to achieve. I always see that this card is an achiever, and I believe Capricorn is an achiever. There are people here as well, so you do stand out, I think, a little bit in your ability to advocate, in your ability to calculate, in your ability to make the pieces work together. And this is that point with the new moon in Libra coming where you are laying the seeds. It's interesting though, because the devil a lot of the time represents a stagnant energy, something stuck, something standing in your way. But for you, this is Capricorn's card. This is all about accountability and planting your feet firmly somewhere. I do see this more as you really advocating for yourself. I do see this as you digging your feet in and not being willing to budge as it relates to what it is that you want to get. And at this point also, there's a lot of things happening. Neptune is retrograde most of the month in the sign of Aries, which for you is your fourth house. So that might be some elusive energy that is in that deep connected root system, but it's then going to be shifting into Pisces, where it's going to run into Saturn on the 22nd. That is a very interesting mechanism because Saturn is also this Saturnine energy, is also this devil slash Capricorn energy. Saturn is all about accountability. Saturn is all about realism. Saturn is all about making sure that the pieces fit right or they're not going to fit at all, especially running into Neptune, where those illusions that might have existed are going to now be addressed and dissolve the right way. And for you, that is in the sign of Pisces. So that's in your third house. It has to do with communications. It has to do with the way, and I do see it coming up right under this Four of Pentacles. So it might have to do a little bit with the way that the money was being spent, the way that the money was being negotiated, all of the contracts that might have been affiliated with that. I do see now there's a point when the new moon comes into Libra and then the sun at that almost that same time moves into Scorpio. There's a sense of redefinition in how you're going to allow yourself to be defined and allow yourself to um, stand your ground in what you're worth. It's a complicated energy. It has to do a lot with communication. I do see where most of the time with Mercury in Scorpio, communications have been deep and a little bit vulnerable, but you can turn up a lot of very sensitive truths there, especially when it comes to how you've been treated, by others and the communication energy that's coming in to define where you are and how you're paid, how you're all of those things, Capricorn. And the devil energy I see right now, where I normally see this as a bad card for a lot of signs, for you, I do think that this allows for you to stand your ground and advocate a little bit. And the reason I believe that you do this is because this is a connection that you really want to have. Capricorn is not happy with moon energy. It likes to calculate. I do see that the devil energy does give you that definitive sort of um, quantifiable approach that Capricorn applies to how to get to a place like this and how to um, achieve. Capricorn does like to succeed. It does like to achieve. It is a sign of success and all of those things. But there's accountability. Okay, there's accountability. So for a couple of days at the end of the month, like right about here, there are a few days where Mercury, Mars, and the Sun are all in Scorpio. That's out in your 11th house. So that has to do a lot with the communities that you maintain. And I do see in this way, there is a community here. There, or at least your family as part of a community. There are all sorts of beautiful harmonic energies going on, harmonious sort of situations in the way that things work together. I do see you as trying to redefine your position in how you fit. But I do see that there is a mechanism, there's a dream here to keep that space positive. And I do see that there is a place for you to try and understand how you communicate here. How do you talk to others? How do others talk to you? How do you allow others to talk to you? And, with the sun in Libra for most of the month, it has to do with that public image, how you've been defined. What is your avatar in your community in terms of where you sit with them? Libra is all about the other. It's all about that mirror reflection. And like I said, to be very, very complicated. And it can be troubling sometimes what you see when you look in that place. But the Ten of Cups, I do see that you are trying to connect to the community now in a very passionate way, such that it will fulfill everybody involved. Okay, you, them, and all. And then at the final energy for the month is the Ace of Wands. So this is that new initiative. It might be that you're trying a new approach to connect with people. This might be where you allowed yourself to advocate a little bit and redefine all the things that are going to do. Redefine the plan, the strategy, the passion, and where that needs to be allocated. But I do see that there's some action, there's some actual initiation. And at this point, Mars, like I said, is kind of filling you with that sense of initiation, and it's kind of almost like being compressed, just like a spring. There is a new sense of how you're going to be allowed to fulfill whatever action it is you want to do, and it has to do with the communication and the drive and the initiative. It's a very interesting place to be. And the Queen of Wands has to do with, this is the guiding energy for the month. The Queen of Wands is an extremely passionate approach to just about everything. And for a guiding energy for the month, I do see you now more as in this situation up here where I said there might be some kind of interpersonal stuff going on. I do see now that you might be finding truth from somebody else. Somebody might be telling you truths. You might be finding it yourself in some mechanism, some way as to something that happened before this month. And that would be just the same exact sort of energy, though, with the Queen. But with the Queen of Wands, if you're the King of Wands up here, there's a sense of tenacity and not letting go. Okay, the Queen digs her claws into something and just does not let go. She will hit the bone and she will hold on. Okay, it's not something that's ever going to give up. It's not something that's ever going to stop. The Queen won't stop until she's satisfied. She is an extremely committed energy. I do see whatever is going on here. I think the devil has to do with this as well. There is a sense of standing your ground, holding on tight until there is tightness here, control, control. I see you as taking control. I see you may have felt a little bit like things were not aligned and you need to correct them if you're going to attain this dream and take this new action and communicate better, to lean in a little bit better. But the Queen, like I said, she will not stop. She will stand her ground. She will take control. She will communicate the right way. She will dump the passion in where it needs to go, and she will make the hard choices. She will hear all the things that come into her. She will integrate that whole plan together, and she will make it happen. And she will do a good job, Capricorn. She will. Now I'm going to pull Fantasy Oracle card for you. Spirit, any fantasy oracles for Capricorn? The Sentinel. You're one of many signs to pull this card this month. I have to say, it just, certain energies are in the air, okay? Certain energies are just in the air to get this card. The Sentinel is all about determination and certainty, which I believe whatever you're hearing here, you are so, like I said, the Queen, there is no more determined in energy than the Queen and King of Wands. They will not stop until they get what they want. They will not stop or rest at all. They will just keep going and going and going until their dream comes true, until their goal is reached, until they feel satisfied. Okay? There is no stopping the Queen of Wands ever. She will not stop. Even if she's in her last breath, she will not stop. And the certainty, I believe, appeals to the devil energy with you standing your ground. I do believe you're advocating for something, and it may have to do with the communications about money and about where you sit with that in Libra in the 10th house, where you're harmonizing in that way. There is a sense for you. You want some certainty. You want to sort of renegotiate where you're going. You want to advocate for yourself because you do have a lot of belief in what you're worth and where you go, and the things that you're capable of for the community, for the group, for your job. I just see a lot of that happening for you. All right, now let's pull you a talisman, Capricorn. See if we can pull a talisman spirit for Capricorn for October. Good fortune. Very good. So, good fortune. I do see, again, the reevaluation of where you stand with the budget and what you're worth and how you advocate for that is a huge part of this month for you. And I do see that there is a sense of you taking control. There is a sense of you reclaiming your power. There is a sense of all of that. And I do think that things are going to be good in that way for you. Maybe yielding you some good fortune in the future when you start to kind of advocate for yourself a little bit. Very good. Now we're going to clarify all these cards. For those of you who are new, I pull 3 cards on all of these cards, and you can go to the comprehensive by clicking the link in the description at the end. So let's start by clarifying this Queen of Swords. I have the Judgment card, the Three of Cups. Yeah. See, not always adversarial. And the Eight of Swords. Okay. Now the King of Wands, the Strength card, the Three of Swords, the Queen of Wands as well. Very, very interesting energy there. Now the Four of Pentacles, Nine of Swords, the Hermit, and the King of Pentacles. Okay, very interesting energy here. Now the Lover's card, the Devil, Empress. 2 very interesting major arcana coming up there, on top of a big major arcana as well. And the Lovers again. Okay, Capricorn, a huge moment right here. Now the Four of Swords, Four of Cups, the Ten of Wands, and the Seven of Swords. And now let's clarify the Moon. Have the Ten of Swords. A little bit bigger of a month for you than we expected, Capricorn. Of course, this is the time for that. Like I said with Libra, it's a very complicated place. The Knight of Pentacles and the Five of Pentacles. Okay, now the Six of Wands. The Knight of Cups. The Six of Swords. Have the Nine of Cups. And now the Devil energy. Let's clarify that. Ace of Wands, Queen of Swords, and the Nine of Wands. And now the Ten of Cups. I have the Wheel of Fortune, Ace of Pentacles, and the King of Swords. And now this Ace of Wands. We have the Six of Cups, and we have the Queen of Cups. The Queen of Pentacles. Very good. And now we will clarify the Queen of Wands, please, the guiding energy spirit. I will take a few cards, whatever we get there. I have the Chariot, I have the Seven of Cups. And now I've been doing it differently this month. I'm going to ask Spirit for a final card for you for the clarifier on the guiding card. I'm going to pull it this way. Any final advice on the guiding card? Five of Cups. Okay. Beautiful. Okay, Capricorn. So at this point, I'm going to now invite you all to come to the comprehensive reading. I do always get so many more answers there in terms of what we find. If you click the link in the description below, it should bring you to the comprehensive. And I do hope to see you there. If this didn't resonate with you, though, that's okay. I'll get you on another month, of course. And there are a great deal of you, so I can't possibly resonate with every single person. But I do hope to see you there. And if you do like this content, like and subscribe. That would be great. And I will pause it here.